Hello everyone, good evening. So today is session 9. So today we will learn about React Router because I have already talked about the basics of React, and then after that I have talked about Redux, I have talked about React hooks, and this is one thing I think which is pending, which is React Router. This is a very important thing that you have to learn because most of the cases what will happen, React is a library that was initially developed to uh, create single page applications, but as you know, normally all of the applications have multiple pages. So and in your application, in your final project as well, so there is going to be multiple pages, right? So if you're creating an Amazon clone, there will be a home page, there will be a product listing page, there will be a separate product details page, and there will be a cart page, and after that there would be a different checkout pages as well. If you can implement the orders screens, order confirmation screen, so all of these pages have different URLs, right? So people can easily access to the different URLs. So how you will handle that? So today we will learn about that. All right, so we will not waste much time. Today I will start with React Router, but initially we will discuss some of the questions that you have regarding the final project APIs that I have given. Okay, so as soon as I got well in the, I think Thursday night or so, something like that. So and then I thought, okay, the APIs are long due, so I am already in the 7 weeks backlog. That's why I do not want it to waste any time. So I created those APIs, and I have just posted a very first version. So there you will find mostly 8 to 10 endpoints are there. Mostly it covers 2 to 3 models, and I want all of you to participate. So we will discuss about that in more detail. Okay, so let's see. So for final project, you have already started working on it, right? You have already built your homepage. Some of you have shared a very good screenshot. I'm very amazed to see how you have done, how you have converted the exact homepage to your React application. Okay, so that's why I'm pretty excited, and that's driven me to create all APIs for 5 projects. And sorry for the team who is there from Ghana.com, because in this meantime I could not complete the Ghana. That because Ghana has a streaming service, right? So I can create the albums, right? But after that I have to upload the songs as well. So for that I have to manage another server. There is a streaming API which is required. So that's why I could not complete that API in the meantime. And at the same time, another team member of mine, I think the coach of team, Bose Kaushik, he recommended me to go with the Spotify API. So I checked their API documentation, and it was pretty much complete, right? Many people developed applications around Spotify application or Spotify APIs. So yes, and some of you are saying yes, integrating with Spotify is going to be tough. Okay, so those who still have confusion that should we make a Ghana.com clone or should we make a Spotify clone, if you have confusion, if you find that building the UI look like Spotify will help you, then you are free to go. I have no restrictions there. If you want your interface to look like Spotify, I have no issues with it. So if you are integrating with Spotify APIs, it's it's good, right? I have no issues. Okay. Okay, and for the other teams, so I will come to that part. So I have taken a note in my notebook. Let me just go through it. Okay, so the first part comes is the API integration. Okay, so I have given few APIs, right? uh Let me just open my browser, then I will share the screen. Wait, so let's just visit one API. Okay, so guys, is this screen visible? The GitHub page is visible to all of you? Yes. Okay, great. So who has the GitHub application? Which team? I guess it is from team Raman or so. Which team? Who has a score? Anyone from team Dhawan, right? Yes. Okay. So one of you from team Dhawan, see, he contacted me and said, "Sir, the API documentation is very poor." I said there is no API documentation itself. So I have just written a README for this project. So this is my Node.js application. So for all other four applications which I have created, so you will find a similar structure. So there you will find a API index. Okay, which API I have created. So as you can see here, I will zoom in a bit here. So as you can see, I have created APIs for states. You will get list of all states. Similarly, you will get list of all districts inside the state. And there are other APIs as well. You can create a state. You can view our state details. Okay, but these two APIs, like update a city and delete a city, not a city, it will be actually state. So update a state and delete a state. These two APIs are not there. So let me correct it right now. Yes. Okay, so updated state and deleted state is not it is not there. Can we integrate API provided by Aragya Sutu for the Cowin clone? Yes, if you want, of course. I have also checked the APIs, but the problem with the Cowin API is that you have to get to the authentication phase. Okay, that means you have to send the OTP and then you have to verify the OTP. Then only you can get access to their public API as well. Okay, so if we can do that part, I'm fine with it. Okay, so I have no Vinit. You can go ahead, like the people who are integrating with Spotify, they are integrating with some real world APIs. So again, Cowin has open API, you can do integrate with their APIs. I have no restrictions there. Okay, so I'm coming back to these API endpoints. So first thing is that you need to integrate with these APIs. For example, for Cowin application, you can get list of all states, and from that you can get list of all districts, and then from the districts you can get list of all vaccination centers. Okay, so up to this part, these API endpoints are ready. Okay, and what is not there I have mentioned here. So all you can see, these checkboxes are there, right? So these checkboxes are nothing but these APIs are present. Now where you will find these APIs? So there I have attached a Postman collection in every project. Okay, so this Postman collection is nothing but a JSON file. You just download this collection, and in your local Postman you just import this collection. Okay, what will happen, you will instantly get all of these APIs. You will get a separate folder like this. So every project I have created, I have given these folders, right? So in this folder, you will find these API endpoints, like a create a state, okay, list all states, state details, state districts, and after that, create district. So what should be the request body, sample request body I have given here. Okay, how you will get the district detail, how you will get all list of vaccination centers inside a district. Okay, so you will get all those details if you can do that. And here you will see that there is a variable. This is called an environment variable in the Postman, because what happens, if my host will change, then I have to go to every endpoint and I have to change the host. That's why I have used this environment variable. That's why if I would go to this, on the left hand side there is an option called environments. Okay, if in these environments there is a group of environment variables. All right, so if I would go to this group and I have set this as active, okay, other groups are inactive, that means uh, any variable inside this group will be active for now as an instance. Okay, so what I did is that I created a variable called Cowin API host, and the value I have defined it something like localhost 8080, where my project is running. Okay, and I'm just accessing the variable. That's why, as you can see, if I would hover there, you will get the current value of the endpoint. That means I will make request to these endpoints. So the step will be, you just clone this application in your local system. Okay, you clone this application in your local system. There is a script that I have written. Okay, so you can run, you can do the installation with npm install or yarn install. Okay, then you will install all the packages that is mentioned here, and after that you start the server with yarn start or npm run start, something like that. I'm writing it down here: yarn start or npm run, npm run start. You know, you already know, right? So you start the application, and in the meanwhile, in the config file, you have in the keys.js, there is a endpoint for the MongoDB MongoDB instance. So for your local system, you just comment these 3 lines, okay, and you activate these 3 lines. Okay, that will, what will happen is that it will automatically connect to your local MongoDB instance if you have already installed it, right? So first clone the application, done. Then you go to the config file, you change in the keys.js, you activate your database connection, local database connection, done. You import this. Step 3 is you import this uh, Cowin clone Postman collection to your local Postman instance, done. Set an environment variable there. Step 4, done. Once it is ready, then from your React application, you can connect to this endpoint. So where this Node.js server is running, so you can connect to this endpoint and you can get the data, right? So you can build features around it. Any questions here, guys? Any question? You can write it down here. So this applies for all of these 5 applications that I have given: 99 acres, Amazon, NetMeds, Cowin, and then the Swiggy. Okay. Sudhanshu is saying, can you give a brief introduction about bearer authentication? I'm having some trouble. Okay, so bearer token is something. So API authentication, this is another vast topic. So API authentication is something I think all of you should know how API authentication works. So there are 3 ways to authenticate your APIs. Okay, let me quickly find one of my document. It is already listed. Wait for a minute. So I will give a little bit brief about the API documentation. Sorry, API authentication. Okay. So what happens? There are 3 types of authentication that you can perform in your application. One is basic authentication. Second is a token-based authentication, and third thing is the is the OAuth based is the authentication and authorization protocol is there. Okay. So what happens in basic authentication? You have to send a authorization header along with your request. So in your every request, you will find in Postman that there is an option called headers. So header, inside header, you have to pass a authorization header. Okay, so you have to pass it something like bearer. Then you have to give the token here. Okay, so what it does, basically the request, it does a base 64 encoding on this string, and it sends that string to the server. Okay, so like in the HTTP header, so authorization encoded strings are sent as base 64 encoded values. The server decodes that value and it responds back with the proper whether it responds back whether the request is authorized or not. Okay, so this is a vast topic. I think I would not be able to explain it in the time frame that I have right now. Okay, so you can study. All right. So any other question, guys? Anyone has any questions? And you can briefly mention the points we should add to our Ghana.com project. For example, a player that plays a selected music. Okay. So I will give a brief problem statement. So I will update the problem statement for every application. So all of these 6 projects, what should be your this week's goal? I will update that part. So I will come to that part later on. Okay, so at the end of today's session, I will come to that part. So what should be your this week's assignment, and how much should you do? Whether you should implement the full feature, full application, or the basic application. Okay, yes, that will help your time and my time as well, because you will not try some very hard feature to implement, and you will not waste time, rather than you put more time on something which will look which where you will get the progress. Okay, so that is it. That is about the final project, API integration. So anyone has any doubt regarding the Node.js application that I have shared? So how to download, or how to start the application, or how to connect the application? Is there any confusion? So you can just tell me. Otherwise, I will move forward. Any other confusion? uh, Authentication and login is necessary for verification, like mock validations is enough. So Anish, authentication is something which is important, but for the basic thing, I have kept the scope of authentication out of our first submission, because authentication is something which not only takes time, it takes some sort of experience. If you need some sort of experience with authentication, okay. So maybe in the next session, if I can host a next session, I will talk about API authentication, and then how to authenticate a React.js application with APIs. Okay, but if you check my repositories, all of the repositories, 5 repositories that I have given, there the authentication part is something which you have to do. Okay, that means for every API, so all the APIs that are not checked, okay, that is empty, that means there is a scope of development. So I would request all of you to come and join my hand. To you go to your projects repository, check which APIs are not there. You make a fork of the current application. Yes, so API authentication, right? So API authentication is something which I will talk about that in the later session, in the next session probably. So there I will show how you can implement it on the server side, and how you can implement it on the client side as well. So in the meantime, in your project, if you find any API is not there, take a fork of the application that I have shared to your GitHub account. Okay, implement that API, and you make a pull request to my primary project. Okay, so that will help me to make our API repository rich, and make your valued contribution there. So I'm asking all of you to come and join my hands there, and make the API more rich. So I will get more endpoints. That will be easier for all of you to, yes. So you will be listed as a contributor for the repositories. Okay, yes, that is something which will be a real open source contribution, a community driven contribution. Okay, so any other questions? So because I do not have much time to for I have to show the React router, so I'm moving forward, right, to the React router. Okay, so why we need a router? So anyone has a prior idea of router, why router is required? Anyone, guys? Why router is required? I think I have already explained that in the beginning of today's session, right? What is a router and why it is required? Yes, to navigate between pages, right? To navigate between pages for pagination. Yes, you can say for pagination as well. Anything else? Why router is required? Why it is an important? Why it is important in context of React? As I said, right, React is a single page application. Means, sorry, it is created to design single page applications. So by default, you will get one single route. There is no way to do something like slash states or slash cities or slash product, something like that. So there is no option by default, right? So either you have to show all the content in the first page, and you have to show all the data there asynchronously. You have to handle everything through modal, something like that will happen. Or so So Meet is saying something. Sir, before you begin implementation, I would request you to implement V6 of React Router DOM because there is a difference in syntax. Okay, so I will check what is there. Okay, but the core concepts are same, Meet. So whatever implementation you do, most the core concept is same, how the router works. Okay, so the basic purpose is to give us the routing feature, means to give us to take us to the sub pages. Okay, means the sub urls. Okay, to take us to the different resources. And not only resources will be, if I would refresh, if I can share that url with someone else, they would be able to view the content. Okay, so let's not waste much time. So we will start with the React router straight on. So let me share my screen, whether it is visible or not. So you go to React router DOM, right? You do a Google search. So from there you will get the website. Okay, so I think the implementation would be not that much difficult. So I will create one application. Okay, so for that, is my screen visible? Because is my screen visible now? Is my terminal visible to all of you guys? Is the terminal visible? npx. So I will create one application. Okay, so React router. Fine. React router application. React router demo. Okay, so it will take some time. In the meantime, you tell me what you have done in this week. So I could not take the live session. So what you have done? You learned React, you learned Redux, any other different concept, or of some people also have fever. Here in our office, I think 90% of our employees are having fever. Okay, fever, working on UI, 50 days of coding. Yes. Okay, good. Okay, done. React router demo, right? So we have to add few projects, right? So I will open this application in my editor, and then I will yarn. I will install all packages. And let's check what is the name for the, yes, React router DOM. We will add this package to our application. Okay, it is taking some time. Yes, done. So yarn and React router DOM. Done. Version 6 is installed, 6.2.1. So let's start the application with yarn. Sorry, yarn start. Done. The application is running in browser. Yes. So it's something like localhost 3000. Yes, the application is running and the editor is visible. I knew everyone editor is visible to you. Not, I think so. Code. Yes. Yes. Done. So we are inside the React router demo application. All right. So it has only one extra package. Where is it? Oh, yes, here it is. React router DOM. Then they move the dependencies to the top. Okay. So let's our applications started. So let's go back to our application. Yes. Okay. So our React router DOM is there, is intact. So let's go back to our code and let's see how. Okay, so today I will show you another thing. Okay, the interesting thing is that how you can structure your large application. I think I have talked about that in the last session, right? So I have announced it that I will talk about that how to handle large applications. So are you interested to see how you can organize your large React application? So if all of you would say yes, then I will start. I will show you. I need 53 yes from here in the chat. All of you guys, why so lazy? Please type yes, not yes. Typing yes does not take much time or much effort. Okay. Some people are still thinking, should we type? Okay, done. So I will remove these things. Strict mode is something which is not required right now. Then this is something which is a basic project. I have removed everything that React have done from their end. So I will add React router. Okay, so React router done. It is coming properly. Now this application is running. We have our router intact. So let me just share how to create a proper folder structure. So first, there are two things in our project, right? We have to keep a lot of code related to Redux, right? So for that, we will create one folder called store. Okay, so inside that store, we will create one file called our application store.js. So this will be our root Redux store, right? We will define our Redux store here. Okay, I think I have already defined it in the last session. So let me just quickly open the code for that. What was the project? I have shown one blog application, right? First React. Oh yes, React Redux blog app. Okay, so there you can see there is a folder called Redux store. So I will just copy this folder from here. I will just paste it here. Okay, so I will just delete the folder for now. I will rename this folder as simple store. Okay, and inside store, this will be our root store, or you can also name it as application store, app store. Okay, so what will happen inside this folder, inside this file, we will define our first store. Okay, that means a primary root application store. So what we have done here is that we have imported the create store, then combine reducers, then apply middleware. Okay, then we have imported the compose with dev tools through which you can visualize the Redux. What is inside Redux you can visualize, right? Then we have Thunk, which is also a middleware. Okay, then we have combined all of the reducers here using the combine reducers method. Okay, and whatever is inside this folder is already following the structure. So inside this we will create separate subfolders. Okay, if there is a post module, you can also think it as a modules. Okay, it's a post module. It is something like we can also create a folder called comments module, comments module. Then say this is a blog application. So here we can also create a model like uh, author. If the user authentication is there, we can create a folder called user. Inside that we can create, we will create two subfolders. One is reducers, another one is actions. So this subfolder will follow for everyone. Okay, so inside every module you will get these two subfolders. One is actions, one is, another thing is reducers. So here also you will get actions, reducers. Similar thing will follow here. Okay, for comments also there will be actions, and inside the actions we will have reducers. Same goes for authors as well. Okay, and every folder we have to create another file as well, which I have not shown in the last session, but you should also create one file called constants.js. So in that constants.js, what we will do is that so here we will also create one constants.js. Okay, so what we normally do with the constants folder is that we define these strings as constant. In large projects, what will happen is that this, if the strings it conflicts with any other module, then you will your Redux store will update any other different reducer as well. So for that we will define these strings inside the constant. We will define it like export const post fetch request. We can keep the same values. Now what will happen, we will import this constant inside the reducer. Okay, so import post fetch request from // constants, and instead of using the string we will replace it with this constant. Similar thing we can do inside the actions. Okay, so inside all of these actions, so it's a post fetch request, that means it should be here. So here I will import this one, and instead of, yes, I will replace this type with this constant. Okay, so similarly for create post, for delete post, for update post, we will have more than one constants, something like this. So we can write down those constants inside this file and we can import it. So every module will have the actions folder, the reducers folder, and the constants folder. Okay, inside actions folder we will write all of the actions that we can perform on this module. So for post we can perform create post, delete post, fetch post, update post. Done. Inside reducer we will write multiple reducers related to post this module. Okay, if this is a post reducer we can also write other reducers as well. Done. Once this structure is ready, we will import our reducer only in this file. Okay, and we will combine the reducer and make it available to the global Redux store. This is done. So similar thing we can apply for other modules as well. For user module also we can do the same thing. For comments module also we can do the same thing. Here we can also write actions like create comment, fetch comment, update comment, something like that. And here inside reducer we can create a new reducer called comments reducer.js. Done. Here also we have to create one constant file called constants.js. Okay, so here we will define all our constants here. Now you will see inside these actions we are making API calls, right? So there we are hard coding our endpoint. We should not do that. We should, what should do, usually we should keep that endpoint here in this constant file, or else we can create another folder called config. Okay, so similarly what we did for the Node.js application, so inside that we can create one file called constants. You can also name it as global constants.js. So inside these global constants, you can define different endpoints, like if export base endpoint equals something like this string, like what is there inside this create post or fetch post. We can just copy this thing to here, export const, yes, export const base endpoint, and we can simply import this thing here inside the fetch post. So how we will do that? Similarly, import from dot slash, and I have to go, I think one, yes, config. From config, we will take this base endpoint from the constants, or we can also name it as base URL. Inside the reducer, sorry, inside this one, we will import this base URL, and then how we will replace it here. So the URL is something, whole URL is something, localhost 3001/post. So how we will replace it? We will do this string interpolation. Okay. So here I will give the base URL. Then after that, this slash post. Okay. I will remove this thing, this part. Done. So our dynamic URL is ready, right? So if you change this one URL, it will reflect in all places. Okay. So these global constants, you can keep it here. You can also keep, if you are integrating with any other endpoint, like you are integrating with, say, Spotify. So there you can keep the API keys, like API says Spotify API key. Okay. So you can give any random string here. Similarly, Spotify will have API secret. So you can keep all these variables here, or you can keep, normally what you should do is that you should keep these API keys or API secret inside the environment variables. Done. So this part is ready. So inside this config global constants, you can create, you can keep all of your constants in one single place. Done. Inside the store folder, you can create, you can create folders, subfolders for different modules, and you will have one application store.js file. This is your root store file. Okay. So every module can have two subfolders. One is actions, another is reducer. Okay. And you will have another file called constants. So every action is listed inside this actions folder, and every reducer related to this posts module will reside inside this reducers folder. Done till this part. If you have any confusion, then you can let me know on the chat, because I will now move forward to the routes part. You have any confusion here? No? Done. So now for routes, so you have already seen in some YouTube videos or somewhere, you will see a components folder here. So some people keeps one components folder, and then they push all of the components inside that folder. So do you think that is a wise choice? Do you think your clone application will have, I think, at least 15, 20, 30 components, right? So if that application grows over the time, and if you have 200, 300, 400 components, so do you think it is possible to keep track of the all single file inside the components, one single components folder? No, right? So that is why you have to follow a structure. So I'm thinking, so I'm guessing that you will use React Router in your project. Okay. So React Router helps us with the navigation part. I have already mentioned that. So what we have to do is that we have to create another subfolder. Okay. So you can either name it as routes, sorry, spelling mistake, or you can also name it as views. I would prefer to keep it routes. Okay. Done. This part is done. Routes part is done. Now, inside route, I will create separate subfolders. So now let's say this is a blog application. Done. So every blog application has a home page. Done. It also has a profile page. Done. It also has a, what are the pages a blog application have? Messages, right? Done. Application can have a settings page. Done. And it can also have a news feed page. So if you consider LinkedIn, so it has a news feed page, right? Okay. And it can also have a post. So if you click one single post, you can have a post detail page, right? So you can create these subfolders for every route inside your project. Okay. So what will be there? What will be there inside these subfolders? I will come to that part. Okay. Done. These pages are done. Now you create one index.js file in every of these subfolders. Done. Post details, index.js, done. Done. So you have created one index.js. Now, what is the responsibility of this index.js file? Now, believe me, in your application, you will have some routes like say post, right? Or say if you are building an Amazon clone, you will have products route, right? So where you will get list of products. Then after that, there will be one if endpoint, one view URL where you want a specific product details like iPhone, sorry, another spelling mistake, iPhone 13 Pro, something like that, right? So how you will handle that route? Okay, so let's talk about that inside our index.js file. Okay, so what is the responsibility of this index.js file? So let me note it down. What is the responsibility? Responsibility is that handle default route. If someone comes to this newsfeed page, what I should show? Then second responsibility is handle child routes. If anything comes after newsfeed, say newsfeed, then there is something like there is a news called iPhone 13 Pro released. Okay, so there is a URL called newsfeed. Okay, so this folder should handle the default route, means the /newsfeed. Now, if someone goes beyond, if someone types /iPhone 13 Pro released news, if there is a news article on that, and if someone wants to access that, then you have to handle the child routes as well from this index.js file. So this is responsibility of this file as well. So first, handle the default route. Second, handle the child route. One amazing thing you can do here is that you can also handle the code splitting and lazy loading. Do you know what is code splitting and lazy loading? I think I have already shown you one example of Scout, I guess. So what happens is in lazy loading is that So when you are writing all of these routes together and you are importing all of these routes inside this application, single application folder, then what happens suddenly? Your bundle file will become so huge. So it will be, I think, more or less, I think 2 3 MB or something like that. That means whatever every single route you have defined in your application will get compiled and one single bundle.js file will be created. Remember, so those who do not want to access, so you are inside Facebook, okay, and you are there only to check the news feed, but you are downloading the JS file which is required to show the profile settings, security and all. So those security pages you usually access probably once or twice a year, right? But with this approach, without the code splitting, you are shipping all of this JS file down to the user's browser, which they do not need at the moment, right? So they only need to see the news feed. So for that, only the JS file which should be responsible for delivering the news feed, that should come down in the wire, right? But instead of that, you are sending down all of the files. You are sending all of the JavaScript that is required in the whole Facebook application. That may be over the size, maybe it will be 15 20 MB or 30 MB, I don't know. Okay, what will be their JavaScript size if they compile everything together and send down to the user's browser, and then suddenly your browser will hang and people will see Facebook. People will say that Facebook is slow or something like that. So that should not happen for your application if you are writing a large application. Okay, so what should we do? You should split your code. You should tell React, please do not send, if someone in the newsfeed page, please do not send the JavaScript for profile settings, JavaScript for messages and all. Okay, only download those JS file if the visitor is visiting that specific page, then only you download that code to the user's browser. Right, so that is the motto here in lazy loading. To do this lazy loading, we have to split the code. Okay, to do the lazy loading, we have to split the code for different routes, for different child routes. Done. So how we will do that, I will talk about that. So I think I have created a lot of folder here. Now let me define our React router here inside this app.js. Okay, so from here, so let's go back to the documentation. I do not remember everything here, whatever they have given in the application. I just check every time I go here. I just come here and check what is there and what I should copy from here. Okay, so I will copy the browser router as router, switch, route, and link. These are the few basic things that I will copy from here. And there is a navigation. There is a navigation for different pages. Okay, so in our application, we have a home page. We have a news feed page. Okay, we have a profile page. And another thing is we have a settings page. Done. These are the all 4 pages that we have, and the URL will change. News feed, profile, settings. Okay. Now, till this part it is done. So if I would go back to my browser, okay, it is, the route is wrong. Probably that's why it is not showing anything. Or what is the issue? Okay. Okay, fine. So we have to define the routes here. Okay. So how we can define the routes? So for that, we have something called router. Okay, so we will import this router component. Oh, sorry, this is the mistake that I have done. So there should be the router at the top. Okay, so what router does, it tells that whatever inside this, whatever inside this component, so that will come under the React router protocols, or whatever React router will apply whatever comes inside this basic, this primary router. So this is something we have to define it once. Okay, and you have to use primarily in your app.js project. Done. Then we have to define every single route. So for that, I will just copy these routes from here. And for that, I will create one div here. Okay. So now let's say if someone at slash, then they should visit the home page. If someone add newsfeed, so there are different routes. If someone is at profile, then we should show something. If someone is at settings, we should show something. Okay, if someone visits this slash means normally the home page, then what they should show. So we have to pass one component here. Okay, so we will import this component. So import home page from dot slash routes slash home, right? Or you can say home also. So we have imported this thing. So if you have an index.js file, it will take it automatically. You do not have to write say slash index. So you can write anyway, but it will take automatically. Done. So we will import this home here. So similarly for newsfeed profile settings, we have to do the same thing. Newsfeed. I will just copy it here. Newsfeed profile and the settings. Okay, so I have imported all of these components, and then we have to use this component here. Profile settings. Done. Now in every index.js, we have to show something, right? So we have to import React from React. So I will create few basic components here. Const newsfeed equals h2 export default. So I will export this component that I have created just now. Sorry, export default newsfeed. Done. So same thing. We will. What are the responsibilities? I will. These are all responsibilities. Okay. So I will copy this thing. I will paste in every component, every other component. Like this is the home page. Home. Similar thing will go in the profile page as well. Like profile. Sorry. Done. And oh, this is the post details. Profile. Done. Inside settings also we have to similar thing we have to do. Settings. Done. Okay, so we have defined just a basic React component and just printed what is the route. I have just printed it here. So this one is the post post details. Post details. We have not imported this thing yet, but I will show you. Okay, so basic folders are there. Every folder has index.js. I have just created a basic React component which is giving a simple output. Now let's go back to our browser and check how it is working. Uh, okay, switch is not found in the React router DOM. Imported as switch. Switch is something which should be there. Have to use routes instead of switch. Yes. So I think they have changed it, but they have not updated the document. Routes is there. So previously we used to use routes actually. Okay, home is not a React component. Home is not a React component. Export default home. What is the problem here? Okay, so is there any new documentation? I think they have changed it pretty well. Okay, browser, router, application. Okay, okay. It is fine. So I have to define the route something like this, I guess. This will work. So let's disable all these routes for now. This is an old implementation that we have to do. So what they did is that, so in React Router 4, whenever I started that thing, so they used to define routes like this. Instead of element, they used to define it as component. Okay. Then then suddenly they changed it to this format. And then again they reverted it back. They also don't know what they are doing, I guess. Yes, now it is coming. Okay. Yes. So news feed and then profile and settings. Done. So let me check. Yes. So can you see that the router is working? So by default, if there is slash, that means the home page is coming. If someone goes to news feed, then the news feed is coming. If someone goes to profile, then the profile is coming, and settings is coming. Now you might say why this one is persistent for every other pages, because this is something which is common. Okay, this navbar is common here, is common for this component. That's why it is coming on top, and after that the bottom section is changing. Okay, and it is changing and it is showing the respective elements like a home page, news feed, profile, and settings page. So if you would convert this thing as your top navigation bar, and if I would define the different routes there, then it will work something like that. Fine. So inside this profile page, okay, So what you can do is that now, as I have said, that after news feed, if there is an option called, say, something like iPhone 13, okay, if someone goes to this route, then you can see there is nothing, like no routes matched for this location. Okay, so what will happen if someone visits that page? So that we have to check now, right? So inside this newsfeed.js, I would go there. I would import the same React router here. Okay, so I will import the route from React router DOM. All right, let me expand it a bit. Now, I will define a route here. So let's take this route definition from the app.js element. They are now calling it as element. Sometimes they call it as component, sometimes they call it as element. Okay. Okay, so before defining that, yes. So inside the React router, they gives us access to different things. Okay, one interesting thing is match. So if I would show you what is there inside match. Okay, so inside this news feed, okay, they are not giving match now. I think there is a lot of difference. How I used to use match here. Mm, okay, so that is something here, that what I have said is that if someone comes, okay, okay, okay. So what you can do is that after these invoices, if someone comes something like, if they have invoice ID, then you can define the route something like this. Okay, so same thing we will follow here. So I will just undo the thing that I have created here. I will just undo it. Done. So now I will go back to my application.js. Okay, so instead of closing this route, I will keep it nested. Yes, so here inside I will create one new route. Okay, so say inside this URL called /newsfeed/ something, says article title is something is which, say someone is supplying the article title, or if this is a product and then you are submitting the product ID, something like product ID 1234. Okay, so I will, so this is something which is called a parameter. Okay, someone is giving some resource parameter. So I would name this parameter as what they have mentioned here in the React router documentation as path. So after invoices, if someone types the invoice ID, then what will happen? Okay, so similarly after newsfeed, if someone types the post ID, sorry, post ID. Okay, so this will go to post details route. Okay, so we have to import this post detail route here. Post details route is something which I have already included here in my application. Done. So if I would visit this page called newsfeed, If I visit this page called newsfeed, it is working. Now, if I would search it, it's pass something like article 1234. As you can see, I'm inside this post details. Okay, so what is printing here? It is not printing anything. I have to check it right now. What is there inside these invoices and this invoice? Okay, so inside this invoice.js, inside this post details, so I have this component, and yes, okay, then they are using this hook called use params, and they're just showing the post details of article ID, which is set from the application JS. After newsfeed, it should come, I guess. Element home, this is the syntax. No, is there anyone can find what is the wrong is going on here? I guess function invoices, invoice. Okay, okay, so for child route, I think something is wrong here. So if I can find what is the what should be, so let me check what is going on here, because something is wrong with their new documentation. So I think I'm used to with quite used to with React Router version 5. Okay, so I think I have not checked this React Router version 6. So this looks interesting because there were some pitfalls in the previous version. I think they have tried to overcome it, and they have completely rewritten whatever what they used to do earlier. Okay, so the earlier ideologies is not working right now. So let me check what is happening, then I will push this code, and then I will let all of you to know that how it is working. Okay, so I guess you got the understanding of the basic folder structure, like how you can structure your application. Now inside this every folder you can create a separate you can keep all your components here inside this folder, or you can create a separate components folder as well. Okay, because there can be other things like hooks. So if something which is, if you are writing a custom hook, okay, then you can keep those hooks inside this SSC directory. If you are creating any utility functions, like you are converting some time to another time, so from server, say you are getting a timestamp and you are converting that timestamp to a proper date time format. Okay, so if you want to, sorry, it will be utils, not units, utils. If you are creating such generic functions, you can keep those generic function inside this utils folder. Okay, and if you are creating any custom hook, then you can also place those custom hooks inside this folder. Done. After that, if you are creating anything which is, say you are creating a component which is common, so what you can do is that inside this routes folder you can create one another folder called shared. Inside this shared folder you can keep shared components. Okay, so here also you can create separate, sometimes I have seen that you have to create some custom form elements that you want to share in your other components as well. Those components you can keep it here. Okay, so done. So that is it, guys, for today. Most of the part I think I have covered. And the router for the child routes, something is I think wrong with the current router settings. I think I have to explore it a bit. So I will update with the new with the latest repository with all of you. Okay, done. So for final project, guys, so this is the date. So first, by 22nd, this is the roadmap. So by 22nd, you complete the basic API integration, like whatever 5-10 API that I have given. So you do integrate your application, okay, with these APIs. Then by 29th, if it is possible, that I have already said that there is an opportunity to create APIs. So you come and join with me and create those additional APIs. So I will create the APIs which I'll be able to create in the meantime. Okay, so and we can also come and join my hand, and you can create a pull request in our repository. I will be extremely happy if you can do so, and then you later integrate with the React application. So whenever a new API is getting merged with the current repository, so I will make an announcement in the group, in the Discord channels. Okay, after that, in between the 2nd to 4th Feb, plan to project this, finalize your final project, and then we will be able to we will hold some sort of interview kind of a thing, where we'll be able to present your final project to some industry experts. I think Suvajit has already given a brief about the announced. I think he has already announced few opportunities, like job opportunities which has come up, because all of you are working amazing, because whatever I have seen, I'm very, very excited, guys. So there are a lot of opportunities that are going to come, but for that we have to complete this final project. So you do this part, do the basic API integration. If it is possible, create APIs, integrate with that, finalize it. We will review the project. We will give you feedback for more improvisation. Okay. Then after that, you present those projects to industry experts. That is optional. If you want, you can come. If you do not want, there is no harm to it. Then after that, there is a certificate for all of you, those who submits the basic API integration with final project. Remember, this part is necessary for qualifying for a certificate. Basic API integration, which is a thing which you have to do. Okay, and if you can create additional APIs, if that gets merged with the primary repository, that we have, if that gets merged, you will get a recommendation letter from Geogo that you can showcase in any other interviews. Like this person has done this thing. It's good stuff. We will write about you in the letter, recommendation letter. Okay, which you can show. So that holds a lot of value. Okay, and after that, yes, the 10th Feb is there, and there we will qualify to work with Geogo on live projects. We have several live projects, and several very interesting concepts are coming up on Web3, on the blockchain. So we are doing some projects on there. So you will get the opportunity to work on those. We will get the opportunity to learn those technologies. You'll be able to work on those technologies. Full stack knowledge is something which you are gathering right now. You'll be able to apply that, and there are job opportunities at our partner companies as well. That is it, guys. So that is for today. If you have any question, then we can drop that in the Discord. I will try to answer. Okay, and you can also send me personal message on Discord. You can also write on the group. So if you can send personal message, then I will get the notification. Then I'll be able to give a proper feedback. Okay, and if it means for all of you, then you can write down on the group channel as well. So that is it, guys. Thank you for joining the session. See you in the next Monday. Okay, so there I will talk about the authentication, the application authentication, how to authenticate your application with the APIs. Done. Bye bye. Have a good day.